M. Night Shyamalan's Trap comes out this weekend. Was it a fun, unique thriller, or was I trapped in the movie theater for 105 minutes having to endure and put up with it? Let's get into this. Welcome to the Cinefanatics. My name is Robert Adams, and I'm here today with a spoiler-free review for M. Night Shyamalan's Trap. Before I get into this, let me know your thoughts, feelings, and opinions of everything I'm going to be talking about down below in the comments. While you're down there, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't done it. Hit that bell so you get notifications as to when we release content. Jumping into this, I thought the trailers looked fantastic. I think it was selling a really good little thriller, and going into to see this movie, I was excited see what crazy shenanigans M. Night Shyamalan was going to come up with. And yeah, if you've seen the trailer, you basically have the premise for the first two-thirds of this movie. There's not really anything else in that first two-thirds that builds upon what was shown in that trailer. You're basically following the paces and the steps of that trailer with just a little bit of expansion as to what's going on. But I mean, you get the gist and the point from the trailer. The last third of this movie, that's where I think things get a little messy, they go a little south, and stuff gets a little more convoluted. And that's pretty much all I'm going to be able to say about that, because for the most part, that final third of the movie really was not shown or discussed at all in the trailer. So that's going to be all the new stuff, the conclusion of this movie and how it wraps up. I do feel like even though this movie is 105 minutes long, it does run a little long, and it's primarily because of that last third. There's definitely some parts of that I feel like they could have wrapped it up and ended it at any given number of points, and they didn't. They just kept stretching it out, and yeah, I don't feel like I was satisfied by that conclusion based off of what the trailer was selling me and how I was feeling in the first two-thirds. The first two-thirds, I was like on the edge of my seat. I was fully in. There's a couple of things in there that happen that's a little bit beyond belief. It's kind of hard to really take it at face value because it doesn't seem logical. It doesn't seem like this is what is actually going to happen. Again, it's kind of an absurd premise. You're a serial killer at a concert, and it's being surrounded by police. There's some questions there, like, obviously, how did the police and the FBI and the SWAT team know that a serial killer is at this specific concert? Is this concert actually an entire ploy and every single person in the audience is in on it to trap the serial killer? Which, those are questions that you have from the trailer. They do kind of answer them, but I don't feel it's satisfying. Most of the answers, most of the questions that you have going into this movie, the answers that are provided, I don't feel like they're that much of a satisfactory answer. It just doesn't quite connect or make sense. Which works because one of the things that they don't show in the trailer is that this movie is kind of cartoonish. Yeah, again, it's an absurd premise, again, leading into the fact that we really haven't heard of it. Like, we've heard of like trap scenarios where like the police may need to round up people who have outstanding warrants. They contact these people, they call them to a specific area, say you want a trip, you want a TV, stop on by to claim your prize. They do, and then they get arrested. That we've heard of before in real life. That makes sense because the whole thing is planned by the police. But this one, it's not quite like that, and so it already has this air of something's not quite normal about this. For us as the viewer, not for the people in the story, but us watching it, we're like, something's just weird about this premise. And it doesn't really land that idea. It doesn't take it to the full extent that it really should. And that's what I think is very disappointing for me, at least in the first two-thirds, petering off into that final third. The other ways it seems animated, other than the story just being kind of weird and nonchalant, is the way it was shot. Typically, there's a lot of shots in this movie that are very head-on. If you were a fan of Jonathan Demme, the director who directed Silence of the Lambs and Philadelphia and plenty of other countless movies, you may be familiar with this because he tends to shoot his actors head-on, with the actors just staring straight into the camera. There's a lot of shots like that in this movie. There's also a couple of split diopter shots, which I'm typically a big fan of. It's another shot taken from, famously done by Brian De Palma in a lot of his movies. So I'm seeing like a lot of these like little tidbits from other thriller type movies that are embedded into the way this looks, which is kind of fun. If you're a big film fan, then yeah, you're going to recognize these shots in the way that they're set up. But other than that, for this movie, it just kind of makes it feel like a live-action cartoon at some points. That, and coupled with the acting. Josh Hartnett, for the most part, is a really good, serious actor. We've seen him in plenty of good roles. This one, there's definitely something off about him, and it's not just because his character is supposed to be a serial killer. It's the way that he is just as a person in like just normal human conversation. Something doesn't quite seem to connect between how he talks and how we, the audience, are understanding him. And a lot of other characters are like this as well. For example, there's another mother of a daughter who is kind of having a spat with Josh Hartnett's daughter. And Josh Hartnett and this mom are running into each other outside of the actual venue in the hallways, and it just doesn't seem natural. It's just very odd and weird. So yeah, it's pretty cartoonish how the whole thing sets up. Everything in it goes it's just a little strange and offbeat. Now, part of that might be the way M. Night Shyamalan wants it to be. He is known for things being just outside of normal, pulling you outside of your comfort zone to bring you into this weird thriller type of world. And he succeeds at that very well in this, but I feel like it's just a little bit more over the top than what I was expecting. So, otherwise, again, it's a good edge-of-your-seat thriller for the first 2/3. All the actors in it, I think, other than some silly lines, some weird characterizations, like I said with Josh Hartnett's character, his daughter Riley is Ariel Donahue. I think she does a phenomenal job with it. I will say big shout out to Suleika Shyamalan, M. Night Shyamalan's daughter, who plays Lady Raven, the pop star in this movie. I think she did a really good job, not only performing because she is a singer in real life, but also I believe this is her first acting role, and of course, you know, her father's going to help coach her into what to do with this. I think she did a phenomenal job, given the fact that there's also parts of this where her role is just kind of weird and like out there, and like it doesn't quite connect to the way a normal person would potentially act. So a lot of that in this. Also, a huge surprise for me was seeing Hayley Mills in this movie. I haven't seen her in years. For those of you not familiar, she started off her career working for Disney, doing a couple of classic Disney movies like Pollyanna and the original Parent Trap, where she played the same type of character that Lindsay Lohan did in the remake of it. Hayley Mills also did the same thing as Lindsay Lohan, playing both parts of each twin. So it's great seeing her in this movie, even though her role as the FBI profiler is important, but it really doesn't have that much weight to it. Like, we don't see her do too much, but I was happy to see her in this movie as well. So go figure. Why is she in this? I don't know, but cool to see her nonetheless. Otherwise, yeah, the movie was okay. It's enjoyable as far as just a fun, like, little thriller that you can shut your brain off and watch, but I would say going into this, don't expect very much. Again, I might need to rewatch it to really see if the final third of this movie sticks the landing, but as of right now, I don't feel like it does. I would not necessarily say that this is a movie you need to go rush out to the theater to see this weekend. Catch it when it's streaming if you don't really have to pay for it, if it shows up like on HBO Max or whatever they're calling their service nowadays. Wait for that. Otherwise, it's okay. It's not M. Night Shyamalan's worst. It's not The Happening, but it is what it is. So, if I'm gonna rate it, I'm probably actually gonna give this movie, in all disappointments, I'll go ahead and give it a 5 out of 10. I mean, it kept me on the edge of my seat for a while. I was enthralled, but it just kind of petered out and just didn't stick that landing for me. What did you think of it? Let me know down below in the comments. Again, while you're down there, make sure you hit the like and subscribe. We're doing some fun things on this channel, continuing to talk about movies and whatnot. I am going to Fantastic Fest again this year come September, so make sure you are following and subscribing for all updates and out of the theater reactions for those movies as I see them come September. It's going to be a good time, as it was last year. So otherwise, follow us on social media. We are at The Cinefanatics on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok. You can also follow me at RCA Reacts on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Letterboxd. Also, youtube.com/@RCA Reacts. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you on the next one. Later.